Coming up on today's edition of the Bulls Report, a Bulls insider had some interesting words around Zach LaVine and a possible trade this offseason. Second half of today's show, this man right here, Chicago's very own Ayo Dosunmu, he's been balling out as of lately. We'll be diving into some stats and me giving my takes around the kid's play because he has been absolutely going off. But before we dive into today's show, I got challenged by Nick Roloff, who runs our Heat Report channel here at Chat Sports, and we called it a race to 100 subscribers. We are up first here at the Bulls Report, so let's beat them on today's video. I want to pick up 100 subs just today, end the battle, and hopefully we do get a victory. So hit that sub button if you guys haven't already. So this was the report from Darnell Mayberry. He works with The Athletic, and he covers the Chicago Bulls. He wrote up a long article just kind of talking about, what the Bulls plan to do with Zach LaVine, and this is what he said talking about this offseason. He said, if no one wanted to trade for LaVine before, what team in its right mind would give up assets to get him now coming off a foot surgery? And I totally agree with what he had to say here. He went on even further, just explained that, the Bulls had a chance to trade him at the deadline, but they decided not to. They decided to obviously keep him on the roster and see if they can make a move this offseason. Then Darnell Mayberry kind of responded, well, if they want to make a move this offseason, what are they going to get from him? It really just doesn't make sense. So I kind of agree that he is 100% right. If the Bulls do plan on moving him, they are not going to get nearly the haul that they could have gotten at the NBA trade deadline. But right now, LaVine's value is at an all-time low. How he started this season was terrible. At the deadline, his value was an all-time low. And obviously, this upcoming summer, his value is going to be an all-time low. So why trade him now or in the summer? I just don't really think it makes, too much sense, because the last time we saw Zach LaVine, this is what he was putting up. And we've always talked about it. He has always been an elite three-level scorer, incredibly efficient as well, but 34.9% from downtown, which was honestly, he started off the year below 30%. He kind of got hot there when he came back from his ankle, then obviously left again. But, he just wasn't efficient. He wasn't putting up a lot of points, and his usage rate pretty much remained the same, which was probably the most concerning part. But, 19.5 points per game, 5.2 rebounds a night for a guy who's making a lot of money. I totally agree on why, his, market is obviously at an all-time low. But an ideal outcome for me is that the Bulls don't trade him this summer. I'm actually out on trading LaVine this summer unless you could get a haul. But I'm under the impression that the Bulls, max get a second-round pick for LaVine coming off this surgery. But an ideal outcome, LaVine plays well to start next season, and then the Bulls trade him at next trade deadline. I know we've heard this, report or this thought that trading LaVine at, last year's trade deadline, even the year before that, the Bulls just refused to do it. But I think that's really what the Bulls need to wait to do. Kind of raise his trade value during the season next year and then ship him at the deadline, because right now he's got no value. Big reason, because of his contract. I just showed you his stats, averaging 19.5 points per game. You combine that with this contract right here, which you would be trading for the 2024, 25, and 26 season, paying $43 million at least over the next 3 years. I just don't really think the Bulls would get too much for him. And listen, I would just hang on to him, have him raise his trade value. Hopefully he improves his play, and then you could possibly move him at next year's trade deadline. But I think max the Bulls could ever get right now is a second-round pick. But I'll ask you guys this question, and I kind of laughed at myself when I was writing this out, but will the Bulls ever trade Zach LaVine? Ever in their history, over the next 3 seasons, will the Bulls ever try to trade him? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no down in the comment section. I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's show. So if you scroll right on down there to the comment section, this is going to be the top one. Answer today's pinned comment of will the Bulls ever trade Zach LaVine? Coming up next year on the show, why Ayo Dosunmu is just frankly that dude. The man's been on an absolute heater as of late, so I'll be diving into his stats and more coming up. But first, I got to give a big time shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. If you guys go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS, you guys will get a first deposit match up to $100. Football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for the playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. And that's what I'm doing tonight. I got a little 2-player lineup for the Chicago Bulls where I'm taking the more on Kobe White's 22.5 points, and then I'm going to take the less on DeMar DeRozan, a combined block and a steal. Whether you guys want to ride my picks or fade my picks, do it at Prize Picks. Prize Picks even offers injury insurance so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player projection won't count against you, and the rest of your entry stays live. I think that's a huge part, and that's why I love Prize Picks. So make sure you guys do download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link for that in the comment section and description of today's show. So let's show Ayo Dosunmu some love here on the channel. We're going to be diving into, all of his stats because he's been absolutely killing it for the Bulls as of lately. And just drop a like on today's show if you want to show Chicago's very own some love. But look at what Ayo's done over the last 5 games. And I could have brought this back to, 20, 25 games. Ever since that LaVine injury, he's really upped his play, but specifically the last 5. I mean, these stats are unfreaking believable. 19 points a game, 5.4 assists a night, 3.8 rebounds, and it's the efficiency for me. 53.6% from the field and a outstanding 55.8% from downtown. And overall, his play, he just fires me up. He gives me kind of that Alex Caruso vibes where his energy on the basketball court is contagious. And I can see it. His teammates feed off him. Anytime he gets a steal, he's diving on the floor for a loose ball. His teammates are feeding off that energy. And then once he's hitting those, knockdown, wide open threes, I think his teammates almost look at him. I see his work ethic off the court, and they're a guy that, his teammates want to root for him. They hope he does good because they see what he puts into the game. And overall, Ayo, really one of my favorite players to ever watch wearing a Bulls uniform, and he is better than I thought. Kevin O'Connor of The Athletic, he put out a comparison for Ayo this past free agency period, and he compared him to Bruce Brown, and I really like that comparison. It made a lot of sense. Strong point of attack defenders, have that kind of one dribble rip through move to get straight to the basket, can catch and shoot the three-point ball pretty well. Honestly, I think that was undervaluing Ayo. In his third year, what he has done, kind of that leap he has taken, he is way better than I thought he was ever going to be in the NBA. And I think this shows a great job this shows it up pretty well. So his rookie year, he shot 37.6% from downtown. I think that was him just kind of, catching fire at the right time. And he was a very streaky shooter that year. I mean, he would go through 2 weeks where he was shooting 50%, then he would get down to 20%. And then his sophomore campaign, kind of a slump from downtown, only shooting 31.2%. But he got in the gym this offseason. I think it speaks to his work ethic that now this season, he is shooting 41.7% from deep and 55% over the last 5 games. He is just one of my favorite players, man, and I love him. And I'll get to this. Keep on developing here, young fella. Listen, we've seen the development in his three-point shooting, in his defense, in his ball handling. I want to see him continuously improve that one dribble pull-up jumper because we've seen it. The Bulls run a lot of pick and rolls from him, and normally his move is just to get the guard on his hip, and he's either getting to that float shot or he's getting to attacking the basket or it's a kick out. But instead of always just getting the guard on his hip, if he can almost have a push dribble coming off that pick and roll, get to his pull-up jump shot, I think that's the next level of his game. And, he'll always be a good defender just because of his natural athletic ability, long wingspan at 6'7" for a 6'4" guard. I mean, it's truly special. But, add that with his overall hustle and his just willingness to compete on the defensive side of the floor. I think Ayo's really going to start making his name for himself, not just for Bulls fans, but across the whole NBA. Because I've also said this on the channel multiple times. He is a winning basketball player. He won in college. He had a great college program under Brad Underwood at U of I, even dating back to his high school days at Morgan Park, winning at the highest level in high school and pretty much winning. Obviously didn't win a title in college, but they were the number 1 seed when he was at U of I. Obviously got knocked off by Loyola Chicago in the second round when they had Kofi Cockburn there as well. But I think he's a winning player. I think he's just going to keep on developing, and I'm just excited to see what player he could be in 5 years. But let's show Ayo Dosunmu some more love here on the channel. If you guys made it to the end, type his jersey number. Type those 12s down in the comment section because this guy, I know we're talking about Kobe White being most improved player of the year, but you could really make an argument that the Bulls could have 2 of the top 3 finalists for most improved player this season with Kobe White, Ayo. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey will probably be the third name in there for Philadelphia. But show him some love. Type those jersey numbers. And make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. It's going to be a fun rest of the season for the Bulls. We'll most likely be in the play-in tournament. So we'll be going live here on the channel for that as well. But make sure you guys hit that sub button. See you guys next time. Go Bulls.